I'm not interested. I don't do entertainers. Never, no offense. Leave me alone.
I don't do entertainers. Ever. No offense. Those 6 words came out of my mouth so easily that night, like I'd been rehearsing them my whole life. Maybe I had been. The man standing in front of me, with his perfectly styled hair and that smile that probably melted a million hearts across the globe, just blinked at me like I'd spoken a foreign language. He laughed, but it wasn't a real laugh. It was the kind of laugh you give when you're not sure if someone's joking or if they just slapped you across the face with words. "I'm Seo Tai Yang," he said, like that was supposed to change everything. Like his name was a magic spell that would make me forget every lesson life had taught me. "I know who you are," I told him, crossing my arms. "That's exactly why the answer is no. Welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, go ahead and hit that subscribe button and drop a like, because this story right here, this is one of those emotional roller coasters that's going to teach you something about walls we build, the people who climb them anyway, and what real love actually looks like when it shows up unannounced. So subscribe, like, and tell me in the comments where you're watching from. Now let me take you back to where this whole thing started. 3 weeks earlier, my brother Marcus was getting married. The wedding was beautiful, one of those outdoor ceremonies in Malibu where the ocean crashes in the background and everything feels like a movie. I was happy for him, genuinely happy, even though I was there alone. Again. The reception was in full swing when the DJ made an announcement that had every woman in the room losing their minds. "We have a very special surprise performance tonight, courtesy of the groom's college roommate." I was barely paying attention, picking at my salmon, when the music started. It was one of those smooth R&B type beats, and then this voice came through the speakers. I'm not going to lie, it was beautiful. The kind of voice that makes you stop chewing and actually listen. I looked up, and that's when I saw him for the first time. Seo Tai Yang. He was on the small stage they'd set up, microphone in hand, performing like he was at a sold-out arena and not my brother's wedding reception. He was dressed in all black, simple but expensive looking, and even from where I sat, I could see why people obsessed over him. But here's the thing. I'd seen this before. The charm, the talent, the way everyone gravitates towards someone like that. I'd watched my older sister Jasmine fall into that trap, and I'd held her hand through the aftermath. So while everyone else was swooning, I was building my walls higher. Then his eyes found mine. I don't know how, in a room full of 200 people, but they did. And for a split second, something passed between us, something I immediately shut down. After his performance, after all the applause and the photos and the screaming bridesmaids, I thought that would be it. I'd go home. He'd go, back to whatever glamorous life K-pop idols live, and we'd never cross paths again. I was wrong. I was standing by the bar, trying to escape my aunt's questions about why I was still single at 23 when he appeared next to me. Up close, he was even more striking, but I'd learned a long time ago that pretty faces hide ugly truths. "That was a beautiful ceremony," he said, his English perfect with just a slight accent that I'm sure drove his fans crazy. "It was," I replied, keeping my tone polite but distant. "I'm Tae Yang. I went to college with Marcus." "I know. I'm Raylan, Marcus's sister." He smiled, and it was genuine. Not the practice smile from the stage, but something softer. "It's nice to meet you, Raylan. Can I get you a drink?" "I'm good, thanks." He didn't leave, though. He just stood there, comfortable in the silence, which threw me off. Most guys would have taken the hint by now. So he started again. "Do you live in LA?" "I do." "What do you do?" "I work at a dental office. Receptionist." He nodded, like that was the most interesting thing he'd heard all day. "That's cool. I actually need to find a good dentist here. I'm in LA a lot for work." "I bet you are," I said, and I couldn't keep the edge out of my voice. He caught it, his eyebrows raised slightly. "Did I do something to offend you?" "No," I said honestly. "You didn't." I just know how this goes. What goes? This. You. The whole celebrity thing. He laughed again, but this time it was real. I just asked if you lived in LA, and next you're going to ask for my number, then you're going to text me for a few weeks, make me feel special, maybe take me to some fancy restaurant, and then I'll find out you have a whole other life I knew nothing about. I've seen this movie. I didn't like the ending. Something shifted in his expression. Understanding, maybe. Or pity. I didn't want either. Someone hurt you, he said quietly. Someone hurt someone I love, and I learned from it. He was quiet for a moment, studying me. Then he said, I was going to ask for your number. You're right about that. But the rest of it, you're wrong. I'm not, I said firmly. Can I at least try to prove you wrong? No, I said, meeting his eyes. I don't do entertainers. Ever. No offense. That's when his face did that thing. The blink, the confused laugh, the realization that for maybe the first time in his famous life, someone was telling him no. None taken, he finally said. But he looked like he'd just been told his dog died. Have a good night, Raylan. He walked away, and I felt a weird mix of relief and something else I didn't want to name. I pushed it down, finished my drink, and went home. Chapter closed, except it wasn't. 2 weeks later, I was at work. It was a Tuesday, slow day, and I was scheduling appointments when the front door opened. I looked up with my professional smile, ready and almost choked on my coffee. Seo Tai Yang walked into Bright Smile Dental, like he hadn't just been rejected at my brother's wedding. He was wearing a black face mask and a baseball cap, but I knew those eyes. Hi, he said casually, like we were old friends. I need to schedule a cleaning. My coworker Jennifer nearly fell out of her chair. She recognized him immediately and looked at me with eyes so wide I thought they might pop out of her head. I managed. We can definitely do that. Let me just pull up the schedule. He stood there patiently while I tried to keep my hands from shaking. This was insane. What was he doing here? We have an opening next Thursday at 2, I said, my voice steady despite the chaos in my head. Perfect, he said. I need your information for our system. He rattled off his details like this was completely normal, like he hadn't flown back to Seoul and was now somehow standing in a random dental office in Koreatown. All set, I said, handing him an appointment card. We'll see you next Thursday, Mr. Seo. Call me Tai Yang, he said, and even behind the mask, I could tell he was smiling. After he left, Jennifer exploded. Oh my God, oh my God, oh my God. Did Seo Tai Yang just book an appointment here? Do you know who that is? I know who he is, I said, trying to sound unbothered. Girl, he's like one of the biggest K-pop stars right now. His group just sold out a world tour, and he just walked into our little office. She paused, eyes narrowing. Wait, did he come here because of you? No, I lied. He probably just searched for dentists nearby, but I knew better, and that scared me more than I wanted to admit. Thursday came, and so did he. He was right on time, which surprised me. Celebrities were supposed to be late, weren't they? Another stereotype shattered. Dr. Kim will see you now, I said, walking him back to the examination room. Thanks, he said, settling into the chair. I should have left then. That was my job. Just walk him back and return to the front desk. But I stood there for a second too long, and he noticed. Something on your mind? He asked. Why are you really here? I asked bluntly. For a cleaning. My teeth aren't going to take care of themselves. There are a million dentists in LA. But you work at this one. There it was. The truth hanging in the air between us, like smoke. I told you I'm not interested, I said quietly. And I heard you, he replied. But you didn't say I couldn't try to be your friend. I don't need friends who are famous. Why not? Are famous people not allowed to have friends? That's not what I meant. Then what did you mean, Raylan? Dr. Kim walked in before I could answer, saving me from a conversation I wasn't ready to have. I left the room and spent the next hour trying not to think about the man in chair 3. But he came back, not just that month, but the next month too. And the month after that, every 4 weeks, like clockwork, Seo Tai-yang would book a cleaning appointment at Bright Smile Dental. By month 3, Jennifer and the other girls were convinced it was the most romantic thing they'd ever seen. I was convinced it was manipulation. "You know he doesn't actually need a cleaning every month, right?" Jennifer said one day. "That's not normal. He's clearly just trying to see you." "Or he has really bad teeth," I shot back. She rolled her eyes. "Girl, stop playing. That man is fine. He's famous. He's persistent. And for some reason, he's chosen you. Why are you fighting this?" "Because I know how it ends," I said, and my voice came out harder than I meant it to. She softened. "Because of what happened to Jasmine?" I didn't answer. I didn't need to. "Look," she said gently. "I know your sister went through hell. We all saw it. But that doesn't mean every man in entertainment is like that. Some of them are actually good people." I wanted to believe her. Some small part of me that I'd buried deep wanted to believe that maybe, just maybe, Tai-yang was different. But belief is expensive, and I'd already watched my sister pay the price. Let me tell you about Jasmine, because you need to understand why I built my walls so high. 2 years ago, my sister was on top of the world. She'd met this rapper named Devon at a club in West Hollywood. He was charming, successful, and he chose her. Out of all the women throwing themselves at him, he chose my big sister. For 6 months, it was perfect. He flew her to different cities, bought her designer bags, posted her on his Instagram with captions about his queen. She glowed in a way I'd never seen before. She was in love, and I was happy for her. Then the blog post came. Some messy gossip site published an article with photos. Devon at a family cookout in Houston with his wife and 2 kids. His wife, his kids. A whole family that existed while he was playing house with my sister in LA. Jasmine called me at 2 in the morning, sobbing so hard I couldn't understand her words. I drove to her apartment and found her on the bathroom floor, surrounded by pill bottles. Some were open, some were empty. I called 911, rode with her in the ambulance, held her hand while they pumped her stomach, and sat by her hospital bed for 3 days straight. When she finally woke up, the first thing she said was, "He made me feel crazy for wanting to be enough." That sentence haunted me. It still does. So yeah, when Seo Tai-yang walked into my life with his perfect smile and his persistent appointments, I wasn't about to let history repeat itself. Not with me. Not ever. Month 3 rolled around, and after his appointment, I found him waiting in the parking lot by my car. It was past 6, everyone else had left, and the sun was setting over the LA skyline. "Can we talk?" he asked. "How did you know which car was mine? I see you leave every day after my appointments. That's creepy." "Or observant," he offered with a small smile. "What do you want to talk about?" I asked, crossing my arms. "I want to know why you're so sure about me without actually knowing me." "I know enough. You know that I'm in entertainment. That's all you know. That's all I need to know." He sighed, running a hand through his hair in frustration. "Look, I get it. Someone in my industry hurt someone you care about. But that doesn't mean we're all the same. Doesn't it, though? You live the same life. The fame, the travel, the fans, the secrets. It's all the same." "It's not," he said firmly. "And if you gave me a chance, I could show you that." "I'm not giving you a chance," I said, my voice cracking slightly. "I can't. Why not? Because I watched my sister almost die because of someone like you. And I promised myself I'd never put myself in that position." The words hung between us, heavy and final. His expression shifted from frustration to something softer. Something that looked like genuine pain. "I'm sorry that happened to her," he said quietly. "I really am. But I'm not him, Raylan. I'm not whoever hurt your sister. You don't know that. You can't promise me that." You're right, he admitted. I can't promise you I'll never hurt you. Nobody can promise that. But I can promise I'll never lie to you. I can promise I'll show up. And I can promise that if you let me, I'll prove to you that not everyone in my world is a monster. I wanted to believe him so badly, it physically hurt. But belief felt like betrayal. Betrayal to Jasmine, to the promise I made at her hospital bed, to the walls I'd spent 2 years building. I need to go, I said, unlocking my car. He stepped back, giving me space. Okay, but Raylan? I looked at him. I'm not giving up. I just want you to know that. He walked away, and I sat in my car for 20 minutes, crying in a way I hadn't let myself cry in months. That night, lying in bed, my phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. This is Tai Yang. I got your number from the appointment form. I'm sorry if that's crossing a line, but I needed you to have a way to reach me if you ever change your mind. No pressure, just possibility. I stared at that message for what felt like hours. I should have blocked the number, deleted it, and moved on. But I didn't. Instead, I saved his contact and turned off my phone. The next morning, I woke up to another text. Good morning. I hope you slept well. I just wanted you to know I'm thinking about you. And then another one that afternoon. I had to miss my mom's birthday today for a photo shoot. They wouldn't let me reschedule. I know you probably don't care, but I needed to tell someone who might understand why that hurts. That message broke something in me. The vulnerability of it, the honesty, the way he was sharing something real instead of trying to impress me. Against every instinct screaming at me to stop, I texted back. I'm sorry you missed her birthday. That's not fair. 3 dots appeared immediately. Thank you for saying that. Nobody else seems to think it matters. It matters. Family always matters. That's how it started. Small texts here and there. Nothing romantic. Nothing that crossed lines, just 2 people talking. He'd share things about his day, the frustrations of his schedule, the loneliness that came with fame. I'd share things about work, my dreams of opening my own salon someday, the books I was reading. Weeks turned into months. The texts became daily, then multiple times a day. Late-night conversations about everything and nothing. He remembered details I'd mentioned weeks ago. He asked about my life like it actually mattered to him. One night, at 2 a.m, he sent me a link to an article about Accra, Ghana. You said you wanted to visit here someday. This article talks about the best neighborhoods and the art scene. Made me think of you. I sat in my bed, staring at that message, feeling my walls crack just a little bit more. You remembered that? I texted back. I remember everything you tell me. Why? Because it's you, and you matter. I didn't respond to that. I couldn't. Because responding meant acknowledging that something was happening here, something I'd sworn I'd never let happen. But the next day, I texted him again, and the day after that, and the day after that. 3 months into our texting friendship, he asked to meet for lunch. Just as friends, he added, like he knew I needed that clarification. I said yes before I could talk myself out of it. We met at a small Korean restaurant in Koreatown. He showed up in his usual disguise, mask, and hat, trying to be low-key. For about 10 minutes, it worked. We ordered food, made small talk, and it felt almost normal. Then someone recognized him. It started with one girl asking for a photo, then her friends, then people from other tables. Within minutes, the entire restaurant was swarming our table. He was gracious about it, smiling and taking photos, but I could see the exhaustion in his eyes. I'm so sorry, he said when we finally escaped to his car. This is my life. This is what I was trying to show you. I get it now, I said quietly. And it terrifies me. He drove me back to my car in silence. When we got there, he finally spoke. I understand if this is too much. I really do. But I want you to know that what we have, these conversations, this friendship, it's the most real thing in my life right now. Everyone else wants Taeyang the idol. You just want me to be human. And I've never had that before. I don't know what to say. You don't have to say anything. Just don't shut me out completely. Please, I nodded, not trusting my voice. That night, I told Jasmine everything. I had been keeping it from her, afraid of what she'd say, afraid she'd think I was betraying her by even entertaining the idea of someone in entertainment. But her reaction surprised me. "Ray," she said gently, "don't let what happened to me stop you from living your life. But what if he's just like Devon? What if I'm walking into the same trap? Then you'll survive it like I did. But baby girl, what if he's not? What if he's actually one of the good ones and you miss it because you're too scared? How do you even trust again after what happened to you?" She smiled sadly. "I don't know if I'll ever fully trust again. But I know I don't want my pain to become your prison. You deserve to take the chance I wish I'd been smarter about." That conversation stayed with me. Late that night, I texted Tae Yang. "I need you to understand something. I can only do friendship, nothing more. I'm not ready for anything else, and I don't know if I'll ever be." His response came quickly. "I'll take whatever you're willing to give me, Raylan. Your friendship means more to me than you know." I believed him, and that was the scariest part. The next few weeks fell into a comfortable rhythm. We texted every day, sometimes about deep things, sometimes about absolutely nothing. He'd send me photos of room service meals from different hotels, complaining about how he missed real food. I'd send him photos of my lunch breaks, usually something from the food trucks near the office. He never pushed for more than I was willing to give, never crossed the line from friendship into something else. And somehow, that made me fall even harder. Not that I admitted that to anyone, not even to myself. Then everything changed on a random Wednesday in November. I was at the front desk when my phone rang. It was my mom, which was weird because she usually texted. My heart dropped before I even answered. "Baby," she said, and her voice was shaking. "What happened?" "It's Grandma. She had a stroke. She didn't make it, Raylan. She's gone." The world tilted sideways. My grandmother, the woman who raised me when my parents were working double shifts, the woman who taught me how to braid hair and make sweet potato pie and pray when life got hard. Gone. Just like that. I barely remember the rest of that day. Jennifer drove me home. I booked a flight to Atlanta for the next morning. I called my family, made arrangements, moved through everything like a robot. I didn't tell Tai Yang. I didn't tell anyone outside of family. I just posted a simple black and white photo on my Instagram story. A picture of my grandmother's hands, the ones that had held mine through every hard moment of my life. "Rest in peace, Nana. I don't know how to do this without you." Then I turned off my phone and cried myself to sleep. The funeral was on Saturday. Small, intimate, just family and close friends at the church my grandmother had attended for 40 years. I sat in the front row, dressed in all black, feeling completely hollow. The pastor was midway through his sermon when the church doors opened. I didn't turn around. People were still trickling in, running late, it happened. But then I felt someone sit down next to me. I looked over and my heart stopped. Tae Yang. He was there, in Atlanta, in my grandmother's church. Still in airport clothes, his hair messy, his eyes exhausted, like he'd been traveling for hours. He didn't say anything. He just reached over and took my hand. I fell apart. Right there in the church, during my grandmother's funeral, I broke into a million pieces. And he held me together. This man I'd spent 6 months pushing away. This man I'd convinced myself was just like all the others. After the service, during the repast at my aunt's house, my family descended on him with questions. Who was this fine young man? How did we meet? Was he my boyfriend? He handled it all with grace, helping in the kitchen, making plates for the elderly relatives, listening to my uncle's long stories about the good old days. He fit in like he'd always been part of the family. Jasmine cornered him in the kitchen when she thought I wasn't looking. "You know they're going to destroy your career for this, don't you?" she said quietly. He didn't hesitate. "Some things are worth it." She studied him for a long moment. You really love her, don't you? More than I've ever loved anything. Then don't mess this up. She's been through enough. I don't plan to. I left the room before they could see me, my heart racing. He loved me. When did that happen? And more importantly, when had I fallen in love with him? That night, I couldn't sleep. I left my aunt's guest room and found Tai Yang sitting on the front porch, staring up at the stars. Can't sleep either, I asked, sitting next to him. Too much on my mind. Want to talk about it? He turned to look at me, and in the porch light, I could see tears in his eyes. I've been thinking about my own grandmother. She passed away 3 years ago while I was on tour. The company wouldn't let me leave, said the show was too important. I didn't get to say goodbye. I'm sorry. When I saw your post, he continued, and I saw that pain on your face, I just knew I couldn't let you go through that alone. Even if you hated me for showing up, even if it cost me everything. What do you mean cost you everything? He laughed, but it was sad. I was supposed to be at rehearsals in Seoul. My group, we have our first Grammy performance next week. It's the biggest moment of our careers, and I just left. Tae Yang, no. I broke into the company office, he continued, stole my own passport from the safe because they lock them up to control us. My group's manager has called me 87 times. The company is threatening lawsuits. I might not have a career after this. I couldn't breathe. Why would you do that? He turned to me, taking both my hands in his. Because you needed someone to show up, and I needed you to see that you're worth showing up for. You're worth more than any Grammy, any performance, any career. You're worth everything, Raylan. The walls I'd built so carefully, so deliberately, came crashing down. All the fear, all the protection, all the promises I'd made to myself, none of it mattered anymore. I'm in love with you, I whispered. I've been in love with you for months, and I've been so scared to admit it. He pulled me close, pressing his forehead against mine. Don't be scared, not anymore. I've got you. We sat there on that porch until sunrise, holding each other. Two broken people finding wholeness in the most unexpected place. The next few days were chaos. The news broke that Tai Yang had missed the Grammy rehearsals. Social media went crazy with speculation. His group performed without him, and they were brilliant, but the media focused on his absence. Rumors flew, some true, most false. His company released a statement about breach of contract. I felt sick watching it all unfold. This was my fault. I'd ruined his life. You didn't ruin anything, he told me when I finally broke down. I made a choice, the right choice, and I'd make it again. But your career, your group, everything you've worked for, means nothing if I'm miserable. And I've been miserable for years, Raylan. Playing a role, being who they tell me to be, never having anything real. You gave me something real. That's worth more than all of it. What happens now? Now I go back to Seoul and fight. I'm not giving up my career, but I'm also not giving up you. They're going to have to figure out how to make both work. And if they can't, then I walk away and build something new. But I'm hoping they'll see reason. My contract is up in 6 months anyway. This just speeds up the negotiation. He flew back to Seoul the next day. I flew back to LA. And for the next month, we lived in different worlds, connected by text messages and video calls. I watched from afar as he fought his company, watched as his group went on talk shows and danced around questions about his absence, watched as he posted cryptic messages on social media about finding yourself and making hard choices. Then one day, he video called me with news. I renegotiated my contract, he said, and his smile was brighter than I'd seen in weeks. They agreed to give me more control over my schedule. I'm still part of the group, still performing, but on my terms now. They weren't happy about it, but they knew I'd walk if they pushed too hard. That's amazing. There's more. I'm moving to LA. My company is opening a US branch, and I'm going to be based there. We'll still tour, still travel, but LA will be home base. Are you serious? Dead serious. If I'm going to do this, I'm doing it right, which means being close to the things that actually matter. being close to you. 6 months later, I'm standing in my own salon. It's small, just 3 chairs and a waiting area, but it's mine. The sign outside reads Nana's Touch, named after my grandmother, who believed I could do anything. Taeyang is sitting in my chair, letting me cut his hair before he has to head to the airport for a week of promotional work in New York. You know you're my favorite client, I tell him, running my fingers through his hair. I better be your only client doing this, he laughs. Jasmine walks in, dropping off lunch for us. She stops when she sees us, a smile spreading across her face. You two are disgustingly cute, she says. I know, I respond, meeting Taeyang's eyes in the mirror. I finally know. That night, after I close the salon, we sit in his car in the parking lot. He has to leave for the airport in an hour, and neither of us wants to say goodbye. Do you ever regret it? I ask him, giving up the Grammy performance, the chaos that followed. Every day, he says with a straight face. My heart drops until I see him smiling. I'm kidding, not even once. Best decision I ever made. Even when it's hard. Especially when it's hard, because the hard parts just prove it's real. This is real, Raylan. You and me, this crazy life we're building. It's the realest thing I've ever had. I lean over and kiss him, slow and deep, trying to pour 6 months of fear and love and gratitude into that one moment. I love you, I whisper against his lips. I love you more. Impossible. He laughs, pulling me close. Watch me prove it. And as I sit there in his arms, in the parking lot of my dream made real, I think about the girl I was 6 months ago. The one so sure that walls were safer than windows, that protection was better than possibility. I think about my grandmother, who used to tell me that the best love stories are the ones where you're terrified the whole way through, because that means it matters enough to scare you. And I think about Taeyang, the man who climbed my walls, not with grand gestures or empty promises, but with quiet consistency and the kind of love that shows up when it matters most. My phone buzzes with a text from Jasmine. Proud of you, little sister. You chose brave. I text back. I chose love. Same thing. Taeyang has to leave for the airport, but before he goes, he kisses me one more time. I'll call you when I land, he says. You better. And Raylan, thank you for giving me a chance. Thank you for being worth the wait. You were worth the wait too, I tell him. And I mean it with everything in me. As I watch him drive away, I realize something profound. Love isn't about finding someone who fits perfectly into your life. It's about finding someone worth rearranging your life for, someone worth facing your fears for, someone worth believing in, even when belief feels dangerous. Taeyang gave up a Grammy performance for me. But what he really gave up was the version of himself that played it safe. And in return, I gave up my walls. And we both found something better on the other side. Real love, it turns out, isn't about protection. It's about being brave enough to be vulnerable with the right person. And Taeyang was the right person all along. I was just too scared to see it, but I see it now, clear as day, and I'm not scared anymore. Well, maybe a little scared, but the good kind of scared, the kind that means this matters, the kind that means I'm alive. And after years of just surviving, being alive feels pretty damn good. So that's the story of how a Korean pop star broke through walls I thought were unbreakable, how he chose me over the Grammys, how he showed me that not all love in the spotlight is fake, how I learned that sometimes the scariest thing you can do is also the rightest thing. If you made it to the end of this story, thank you for riding this emotional roller coaster with me. Drop a comment and let me know what you think. Have you ever built walls to protect yourself? Have you ever let someone in who you swore you'd keep out? Tell me your story, because we're all just trying to figure this love thing out together. And hey, if this story touched you in any way, if it made you feel something, hit that like button and share it with someone who needs to hear that real love still exists. Subscribe if you haven't already, because I've got more stories that'll make you cry, laugh, and believe in love again. Remember, the best love stories aren't about finding someone perfect. They're about finding someone who's willing to show up, even when it's hard, even when it costs them something, even when the whole world is watching. Tae Yang showed up for me, and I finally let him in. Maybe it's time you let someone in too. Until next time, this is your girl reminding you that love is always worth the risk. Always. Peace.